Michael, it's been about 10 days since we last spoke to you. How have things been? Have you been good to get a chance to work with the players?
Yeah, so we've obviously come off a busy Christmas period. Lads have had a couple of days off, but 3 or 4 days training, which has been brilliant without the pressure of games, and then back into prepping for Wycombe. But it's great to have, a few days with the lads that's not game. So yeah, that's been really good.
And you have some new faces as well.
Yeah, and also good to get, freshen up and freshen the squad and have some new faces, because Freddie's come back in, which people know a little bit more, but obviously I don't know him. So that's been good. And as you know, Joe Taylor's come into the building. I think Jez and Liam and ourselves have done really well to get that one over the line. Yeah.
A lot of clubs were after him, weren't they? And just talking to him there, it feels like Mick Hartford may have played a little bit of a role, former Lincoln City player, and obviously very involved behind the scenes at Luton in conversations with him. He described Mick as a mentor towards him.
Yeah, I think Mick really supports him. I think Joe is coming. I think the marriage made in heaven is Joe's coming to help us with giving us a bit more of an attack in the front line. He's got pace, he loves to run in behind. And I think our job is to help Joe as well at the same point, because we know where he wants to go and how he wants to kick on. And I spoke to Rob, who I know from my England days, about Joe. So we're all aligned, and I think that's probably the best thing for a loan. And as you say, he had a lot of clubs chasing him as he was doing well at Colchester in a team that's probably struggling a little bit. But yeah, we're excited for him to get going. But we're excited for everyone to get going again.
And whilst of course he has to perform, he was saying that game time was another one of the attractions in coming to Lincoln. I guess that's possibly up against other clubs in League One that may be a bit further up. That's one of the things that you can offer here.
Yeah, I think players aren't stupid. I think he looked at our front line, he knew it was one of the areas. And what I really liked about Mick and Luton, they came to watch some of our games and they wanted to know that Joe could have an impact. Not everyone's guaranteed any start in any team, and if he performs well and he trains well, then he's got every chance of being in that team.
And what have you made of Freddie now you've worked up with him a little bit closer?
Yeah, I think as always with both of them, Joe's still 21, Freddie's 19. They're still young, but they bring a physical presence. And Freddie has been brilliant in training. You can see how he could cause real issues for defenders. He's one of our own, isn't he? And I think that's important. But Freddie's been brilliant as well. I think both of them have come in and hit it off together as like a little partnership, which is nice to see.
You said, kind of preempted my next question, you said partnership in there. Is that something you're thinking about, maybe a slight tweak up top to a 2?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I think if we've got that personnel in the building, I need to look at it, and as a staff are looking at it, how we do that and when we do that will depend on the tactics of the opposition. But I think at times you'll see 2 up top, and it could be those 2, yeah.
Now, you used to work in teaching, and
Yep.
You would do something I'm about to do to you, like a present list, but I made a list for coming of, last time I spoke to you, how many players you were without. And if we can just spin through them quickly, I've written them down, otherwise I'd forget.
Yeah.
Clearly, Mandroy and O'Connor, not present at the moment. Burrows, I assume he's okay now and back?
Burrow's back in training, he's been training really well, yeah.
And you kind of said it, Freddie Draper picked up that injury we talked to you after the Blackpool game, but not a serious one, and he's back in training.
Yeah, so we pulled Freddie back in to make sure he's okay, and Kieran and the medical team have really looked after him. So yeah, Freddie's back in training.
Ethan Irahan, I've seen pictures of him training, so I assume it's better news of him.
Just back into training, yeah. So that's good news, because it's not a break or anything like that. So I think just after Christmas, obviously he's not been playing, and we've missed him. We've missed his experience in the middle of the pitch, because he is our holding midfielder, if you like. But yeah, he's back in, which is great.
And does back in mean that he'll be available for you for Saturday?
He's going to be close. He's going to be close, yeah.
And next one on the list, I've got them alphabetically, it helps me. Rico Hackett, I've seen pictures of him training. You said in the last interview you did 10 days ago he was getting closer. Is he available for Saturday?
We've got to manage Rico, because he's come back from more of a long term, so he might be available for Saturday, but that one's touch and go.
Next one is Ben House. I'm hearing some bits around that he's not close to playing, but he's getting closer.
Yeah, Ben's getting closer, but Ben's still like, we've got Tyler, who's way off, and could be end of the season. Ben's still the next quite a way off, so we can't get too excited about that. That could be still a bit of time.
I will mention Lewis Monster. I know he's not available for you. I've seen him around, had a chat with him, I think the last couple of times I was here. Just clearly a very difficult time for him with a third ACL.
Yeah, huge. He's hugely disappointed, as we know, and what a great guy. I've only seen clips of Lewis, but he's first of all he's a top guy, and he's in the building trying to recover. That's hard, really, every day trying to do what he's doing and what he comes back from. But yeah, he's a great guy. But again, like Tyler, quite a way off.
Sean Rowan?
Sean's fit. Sean's good. Sean's looking good and been training.
Lass Sorensen obviously came off injured in the game at Blackpool.
Yeah, that was a funny one because we didn't want to. We didn't want to make anything really worse with the numbers we had at that point. We were struggling for numbers, as you know, because you've got the list.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to make anything really long term with an adductor. So, but Lass is now back in and fit. He's had a bit of time off, so he's not been training with the other group fully. But he's fine now.
And just finally, I know this is going to be a long term as well, but it's on the list. Tyler Walker, that's most likely late in the season at best.
At best, yeah. I think for Tyler, at best, we're supporting him. We're trying to get him through. But yeah, he's still long term.
Well, I've gone through that list with you. I'm sorry for making you feel like the pupil for a change.
Yeah.
But there's some encouragement in there, isn't there, for you? Because when we interviewed you at Blackpool and you heard the news of Freddie, you must have felt a bit hemmed in.
Yeah, I think it's just been a tough time, and I think every club goes through tough moments, and we had good opposition with a slim squad. We still try to go out and do our best and win every game, and I think it's always nice to get bodies back, not only improve the squad but also be more competitive for places, and I think that's what started to happen, which is really nice.
And as we mentioned at the start, you feel like you've had that chance as well now to start getting more of your messages across, because it was a little bit hand to mouth beforehand.
Yep, so just started with some messages again and just trying to get some principles into how we want to go about things, and I think you started to see bits of that, but it's making sure that we don't push too far on the messages I want for this moment, and we've got to go back to being strong and competitive, and we need to create more chances. We know that we're working hard on creating chances and working hard and trying to get up the pitch, but hopefully adding Joe and Freddie to the lineup is going to add some front power, if you like.
And do you think the fans will see, perhaps going forward, a little bit more of where you want to go? Clearly you can't do everything in one moment, but now you've had a little bit more time, you hope they can see a bit more of it?
Within reason, yeah. I think it's always difficult to come in mid-season and change things radically. I think we need to be competitive in games. I think at times we try to press teams high and be aggressive and been a bit too open. So it's getting the balance right for me at the moment. But the principles we can do, and we've been doing that this week, but hopefully we can keep moving in the right direction.
We should not forget as well, you've now got Jack Moylan available as well for your squad.
Yep. So Jack's been with us a couple of months and he's itching and raring to go. He's a young one, like some of them coming in. He's been in from Ireland, but he's definitely in contention. He's been training really well. He's got an eye for goal as well. He's more of a 10 rather than a number 9. But he's been training great.
But it must be nice for you and the coaching staff on, Thursday, Friday, Saturday now, maybe to have more selection dilemmas than perhaps you've had in recent weeks. Yeah,
and I think before the team virtually, or if we got the bodies on the pitch, could pick itself in a way. And I think now we're getting into a situation where it's a difficult challenge, and that's what managers always want. They say they want it, but they generally do, because then you have options, and I think that's what's great about it. We've got options in the squad, we've got depth in the squad, and that creates competitiveness within the squad, which is good too.
And Wycombe as opposition?
Yeah, they've been going well. I watched them last week at Burton, didn't have a Saturday off, so I went to watch them, which was good, and they're direct. They've got Sam Vokes, who we all know about, has played in the Premier League, and he's strong and good up front, and they've got some good runners off that. They've got some things that can hurt you, but we've got to go and put a positive performance on the pitch, and hopefully we can get something out of it.
And how important has that bit of a break been, like you talked about, having more time to sort of get tactics across?
Yeah, a little bit of. It's important to get some principles of tactics come with the opposition, but more importantly for me to get my way that I'd like to play across to them and educate them without overloading them. Also to have a good couple of training days, because usually it's been recovery or match prep and you can't do too much. So we've actually been working them quite hard as well in the 3 or 4 days, and then come off them a little bit ready for Wycombe. But it's been good to work with them.
And do you think did it come at a good time as well after that sort of like bad run of results over Christmas?
I'd prefer it before it. So I don't think you can ever get a good time, but you've just got to take the opportunities in the season where you do get little windows to do some work with them that's not completely focused on one opposition, really.
So what I'm trying to get is that you've sort of had that bit of a time off from games. Is it sort of now you can sort of reset and go again as like a new period of starting with Wycombe?
Yeah, I think so. Like we've got Wycombe, which we need to be positive in and try and go after the win, of course, and then we get another couple of oppositions who are tough in Derby at home, and Peterborough we know are doing really well. I saw Peterborough the other day in the FA Cup, so they're strong teams again. But then we go into February and we need to pick up some points. So it's not really looking at each game here and there, but you do look at a longer term where we can keep progressing. If we keep moving and progressing, I think it'll be good. And also, like you had, to freshen the group up with some bodies coming through the door, I think is always an advantage in January.
Is it an important thing for you that you've been able to see Wycombe and Peterborough? Like you said, you've gone to their games. Is that something that's helped with the prep for these games? Yeah,
I think it always helps to see teams live. We've got everything you need in terms of video and footage, but I always like to go and see teams live and see how they deal with things, because I think it gives you that little bit of feel of the game.
And finally, just on sort of like the rest of the January transfer window, you said to me after the Northampton game, sort of you were looking at experience. Is there more to come, sort of more experienced players, do you think?
Yeah, I think one thing I would like, and we're working on it, and it's not easy, but I'd like to add a bit of experience to the group. I think we've got some really good youngsters in the building, and we're bringing some really like Joe and Freddie back who are young, but sometimes I think in League One, Saturday to Saturday, some old experienced players that have done it for a few years. And I don't mean old, I don't mean 35, 30, I mean 26, 27 that have got lots of minutes and games under the belt. I think could be really important to the group. And sometimes I think we always think youngsters playing with youngsters is the way forward, but actually youngsters with experience around them, they progress even quicker as well for the club. So I try to balance that. We're working on that at the minute to see what that could look like. And
are you going to have to let someone go to sort of bring in that, or is
maybe that might be the situation. I don't think that we're Lincoln City, we're not blessed with millions of pounds, so there will have to be a bit of movement and doing that right. It might be that we need someone who's sitting on the bench not getting many minutes that can go out and play for the next 6 months and then bring them back in pre-season would be the way to do it.